If you're not a frequenter of Mishmashers.com, first and foremost, you most definitely should be, and I do recommend you rectify that post-haste. But if you're not a frequenter of Mishmashers.com, or the Mishmash podcast, which I do with Scott Moore, then I'll start this review off by saying we've put forth an effort to watch and discuss as many 2018 Academy Award nominations as we can before early March comes around. Scott Moore and I already sat down and discussed Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, and for today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water is a fantasy drama film directed by Guillermo Del Toro, and is a film that was nominated for 13 Academy Awards, having already won Best Director at the Golden Globes earlier in the year. As one would expect from such accolades and credentials, the film has received high marks from critics and audience members alike. As of this writing, the film is a little shy of $70 million worldwide, off its $19.5 million production budget. However, as award season runs full steam ahead, I wouldn't be surprised to see it have a reinvigorated box office presence in preceding weeks. Guillermo Del Toro is a talented director. I feel comfortable in that assessment. His smaller field films like The Devil's Backbone, Crimson Peak, and Pan's Labyrinth were enjoyable. Meanwhile, his blockbuster-type films like Blade 2, both initial Hellboy films, and The Pacific Rim were solid as well, with Pacific Rim amongst them as, I'd say, the slight weak link. That said, if I'm honest, although I am interested in more from Del Toro, I wouldn't necessarily cite him as a great film director or cite any of those films as being favorites of mine. Del Toro's strongest attributes, in my opinion, are without a doubt his imagery and sense of style, whereas his weakest attribute is his storytelling and backing his visuals up with an enticing enough narrative to bring forth the best out of it. This film, The Shape of Water, is about this mute custodian woman who works at a high-security government laboratory in Baltimore. The film takes place in 1962, and because her place of employment, she becomes acquainted with this captured humanoid amphibian creature. It's basically said the government found it in the South American river and that it was revered as a god, and ultimately a romantic relationship begins to form between the two of them. I went into this film expecting shades of Beauty and the Beast, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and maybe even a little bit of Splice, more or less. I felt comfortable going in that I knew what to expect. After having watched the film, I can comfortably say it was mostly devoid of any real surprises as far as storytelling trajectory is concerned. The only thing I didn't expect is that I initially didn't expect it to be so straightforward with its romance. And I thought it was something that would be hinted at and implied, but that their relationship would be presented as non-sexual. However, that did not happen. Which, by the way, everyone is really cool about this, as far as her friends are concerned, but that's beside the point. The strong suit for The Shape of Water is unsurprisingly the visual flair and pizzazz it carries itself with. It is realized and makes for an entertaining backdrop for the story to unfold. I wouldn't call it Del Toro's best, all things considered, but it's a foot squarely in the win column. When I say visual flair, I am of course referring to the special effects, the decoration, and the scenery. Although when I say pizzazz, I'm also talking about the music, which complements it very well. The issue I had with The Shape of Water, however, really goes back to what I said earlier about how Del Toro struggles with creating a captivating and truly unique narrative in his films, and I think that statement goes a long way in summarizing this film. The storyline in The Shape of Water isn't simply one that is familiar, but one that has been treaded a repetitious amount, and there isn't a lot of innovative ideas to really talk about. If you read the description for what I said of the film, and then added, and also there's a conflict, I feel as though you can practically assume everything that happens in this film and have very accurate results. Predictability isn't necessarily a damning mistake to make, but the film simply doesn't engage its own predictability in a way that makes me enjoy the ride. The primary focus in The Shape of Water is the dynamic between the creature and the mute custodian, but their relationship isn't as strongly established as it could have been, with most of their actual chemistry only being implied, and not particularly displayed beyond a few shots that are, albeit beautiful, not enough. The acting isn't bad for this film, with my favorite actor of the whole deal being Michael Shannon, who plays this douchebag antagonist who's always trying to interfere with all this cross-species sexual escapades, and even if he might be a little bit of an archetype, I liked his portrayal. The others involved are enjoyable as well, but once again, the real big issue with The Shape of Water is it doesn't do anything unique, never establishing a conflict I truly buy into, never building a chemistry within any of the characters I truly believe. The Shape of Water is a film I watched and thought to myself, it's a standard, conventional film, bolstered by its artistic approach, and that's really all I have for it. I have such an apathetic attitude about its plainness, I almost wouldn't even have reviewed this film had it not been nominated for as many awards as it has been, and I think it's actually among Del Toro's weaker films. That said though, I want to know what you guys think, and obviously with the amount of acclaim this film has received, I anticipate I am likely in the opposite side of the spectrum with a lot of you. But I'd love to know what you think regardless. Thanks for joining me on this edition of NJ Today, and I hope to see you next time.